Good morning. You're listening to FloorDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. I'm in Banff, Canada. I'm at the NFA meeting. My guest today is Connor Lokar, an economist with ITR. Connor, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. It's a great time to be in lovely Banff and talking economics.
Yeah. Most people know you, Connor, because you speak to the flooring business a lot. You're the one that makes fun of yourself to say that you're a little older than 19. In fact, you're 31, but that's still playing until you grow some facial hair, right?
I've been working on it for a while. It'll come one of these days, but it's always a pleasure to be with the flooring folks.
You spoke to the NFA, I think, for the first time. I heard you just recently speaking to CCA Global, and you actually were there at that meeting with Barbara Corcoran, and it seems like the message you were giving back in February was a little bit more optimistic than the message you're giving today about what we're going to see in 24. Is that right?
Yeah, and it really depends on your perspective. I think from a general economic standpoint, probably not the most upbeat message for 2024, but for the flooring folks, particularly with a heavy residential mix, I think you can feel reasonably better about where we're going to head in 2024, where folks on the commercial side probably have some risk building for things softening up for them, probably this year and likely in 25 a little bit as well.
So back in February, we were thinking we'd get a rate discount from the Fed maybe in March or April, and now we're thinking it's going to be the second half of the year, right?
That's really what it's looking like. I know that the Fed is certainly disappointed with what they've seen out of inflation. I think ITR, you could put us in that bucket as well. The faster we can get to a CPI number starting with 2, I think everyone will feel better about that. But the way things have gone through most of the first quarter at this point, Fed's got to sit on their hands for at least a couple more months.
One of the slides you showed indicated that if you're in the building remodeling market and you're down 13%, then you're down with the market, right?
Yeah, that's right. I don't think any folks, particularly if you have a heavy residential mix, if you found yourself down mid, upper single digits, low double digits, I think those are all pretty fair numbers based on the market data that we have at our disposal for 2023. So we're looking forward to that bottoming and things starting to recover in 2024, and then really more excited about 25 and 26 for things getting sustainably better for folks.
So let's talk about that bottoming for a minute. I guess that's the big question, is whether or not we're at the bottom now. And your indication from the stage today was that most of the people in the room who are focused on both new construction and residential replacement are ahead of the game as far as seeing the downturn, and that hopefully things will get better by the second half. But that's still an unknown, right?
Yeah, it is. I think that anyone tied to residential markets, you're always going to be on the leading edge of the economy, where commercial markets obviously are lagging. Other parts of the economy that are in the middle, they're waking up and smelling the higher interest rates as we head into early 2024. But for all the housing folks, they were feeling that, some of them as early as late 2022 on the retail front side, but certainly in 23. So I think for most of that audience, you're closer to the bottom and then the beginning of this cycle.
You say this, I've heard you twice this year, and I've heard you, I think, 2 or 3 times last year. You talk about outrunning the bear. And what you're talking about there is if a bear's crashing down through the woods, you don't have to beat the bear. You just have to run faster than your neighbor. So now's a good time this year, and this is one of your key message points, is to invest in a couple of the things that might need to be invested in so that as we're coming out of this hole in 25, you're ahead of the game, right?
Absolutely. I think that, I know it's always hard to ask folks to spend in a downturn because the natural inclination is not to, but every post-recession sob story starts with someone saying, I wish that I'd done this. I wish I had bought this 12 months ago, 24 months ago. So I'm trying to implore my audiences to, don't say, I wish I did this in 2024, but do this in 2024. And doing this or executing it could mean any number of things. It could be new software, it could be new vans for on-site installs, it could be a new building, it could be putting money into the storefront. Hopefully light bulbs go off for folks in terms of, we've really neglected this 1, 2, or 3 things, and maybe we can work on that this year.
A lot of areas that people are investing in right now is software, right?
Yep, that's a really big one, and that's goes along with particularly productivity gains. If anything that can help you and your people do more with less, that's going to go a long way to help fight off ongoing labor cost pressure that's going to be the number one profit killer for businesses over the next 5+ years.
Another slide I want to point to is you talked about the housing market, the new build construction, and it's actually on its way up already. Even with interest rates where they are, and some builders are buying the rates down, you see that going forward for the next couple of years, right?
Yeah, we do. We feel good about the new build space. Interest rates, they're not great, but they are coming down a little bit. Add in a healthy dose of buy downs from builders, and the math is obviously working for some Americans to see housing starts up more than 26% over the last quarter. So to the extent that any folks have exposure on the new build side, that's going to help you a lot more this year than it did over the last year or two.
All right, we're about to run out of time. We've talked about the near term. 24 are going to continue to be soft. 25 and 26 are going to be better. But you've still got that cliff at the end of 2030, right?
Yep, still projecting the economic cliff in 2030, which means after we get through 2024, we've got about 5 years of economic sunshine to make some hay with and make sure that you, the business, and the family are ready for the music to stop at the end of the decade.
All right, Con, it's good to talk to you. Another point I want to make, just personal. You're here with your wife, and you've got an 8-month-old boy, and this is the first time you travel without him, and your parents are taking care of the kids, right?
That's right. So far so good. We've been checking in every hour or two, and so far it seems like baby boy is cooperating with grandma and grandpa.
So you're doing your part to stimulate the economy.
Doing everything we can over here. Gotta spend on these young ones, and so that they're here to spend for us in about 20 years.
All right, Connor, it's good to talk to you again. Been talking to Connor Lokar, an economist with ITR, and you've been listening to Kemp Harr and FloorDaily.net.